This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Land Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Land Specialist.
And Catherine Smith from Build Bright. How you going, Tony?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Finally, back again. We won't lie, we had a bit of a hiccup with the last podcast recording. It didn't seem to work.
Technical difficulties?
Technical difficulties. I think it may have been user issues, but anyway, we're here. All right, so what I want to talk about on today's podcast is about the population growth that we're going to see in Perth from 2023, basically now onwards over the next probably 8 or 9 years, and what that looks like and why there's so many opportunities around building in Perth, build out west sort of thing. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I think Perth's one of the fastest growing cities that we have currently in Australia. I think we're going to be a third biggest after Melbourne and Sydney, so that's what they're projecting. It's really just keeping up with supply and demand at the moment.
Yeah. As we record this right now, we're both personally working with some over east investors that are now seeing that kind of obviously the established market's starting to slow down, or not slow down, that's a lie. The stock that they want's not there, it's not working up. So the next feasible option is for them to build, and that's what we're working on. But a good thing here as well for us is not just over east investors, it's Perth-based investors or people that are just want to build one more investment property to get themselves in. Yeah, the numbers look big, but the numbers aren't going to come back down. They're going to start holding. They might be. What you'll see is they might drop a little bit. Interest rates will come down and things will become cheaper. But the cost of housing now is probably going to stay around about that 550 as a median canal for Perth, right? Yeah. I believe I don't think it'll come down. Not with the way that the mining industry and all that. And we'll talk about all that kind of stuff later in another podcast. But we'll go through about what the population growth in Perth looks like and where the opportunities are, what's caused it, and where we're going to be, and some of the options that you've got and what we're seeing trending in the market right now.
Yeah. So population growth is such a huge topic that we have in the media in WA at the moment, particularly because we're just growing at such a rapid, quick pace. I think we're looking at about 1.2% average population growth for Perth, which is pretty big considering the numbers when you go into it. So
the numbers that we've grabbed have all just from the internet, from the West Australian, from the Times and stuff like that. Yeah. Just basic information on Google and these experts and trying to work out what we are. And what we're seeing, and again, these numbers are very rough, just so you get an idea of where they're taking, but they reckon about 300,000 people are going to come to Perth in the next 8 to 9 years. You think there's going to be 700,000 coming to Australia in the next 4 years, and we're looking at probably 37,000 people a year. Yeah, that's it's nearly it's 150,000 of that population coming straight to Perth. Yeah, that's a quarter, almost over that.
It is a lot, and when we break it down, we're looking about, I think it's about 37 to 40,000 people coming to Perth. A year. That is just people coming to live as well. That's not actually taking into account the students and the migrants and things like that are looking just to stay for a year and they need a rental accommodation for the next couple of years, or if they're students or backpackers or what have you. That's a whole other minefield.
And we'll talk about that later. There's so many different ways to invest in property, whether you're building houses where you can have like multiple rooms and you rent out per room, which is a big thing hitting Perth. I know a couple of companies that are doing that right now. We can build those houses for you to then rent to these companies. It's pretty simple to do, right?
I actually know a lot about that because my mum has at Curtin Uni, she's got two two-story homes that are 6-bedroom each, so it's 12 bedrooms. Yeah. She rents them out per room. I don't even know what the rental yield is on that, but she actually sold it last year. Yeah. So she had that for, God knows, since I was in high school. So a long time she had this as just a sort of like a student accommodation. Sold to an East Coast investor. Didn't even look at it.
I know.
Didn't even come over and fly. Hasn't even seen it.
There's a one big guy in Queensland who's kind of pushing these companies over here now as well that I've seen and working with him kind of closely and he's buyer's agent here. Yeah. We've built a couple for them and it's great because you just build its purpose, mate. They've all got their own little ensuite. Most of them got their own little kitchenette area. Yeah. And then, so it's a really good way to do it, I would highly recommend if you build some like your mum might not, but use an agent to rent it out because there's just so much turnover. Because your short term leases, your 3 months, your 6 months, you've got a lot of crap to deal with. I would be like, hey, set and leave it, but the yield on it is pretty high. I mean, you 250, 300 a room. You get 6 rooms, but you've got a lot more damage and stuff to deal with. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that.
We always sidetrack.
I know. It's not. But that's it. This is we're a wealth of knowledge. We try to get it all out. Look, so right now in Perth, we're sitting here kind of just end of June, start of July here, and I'm saying that because I don't know when this is going to be released, if I'm honest. So I want to get it timing. But we've got a rental crisis in Perth as it stands right now. Yep. This is why we're seeing an influx of investors over East coming in.
Yeah. Population growth, I mean, look, if we're looking at the 37 to 40,000 people coming to live in Perth, as in like a long-term basis, that definitely causes a wedge at the moment in terms of supply, really, because we're looking on average, we build about 20,000 homes a year, which obviously the numbers aren't numbering, right? So then
the numbers aren't numbering.
Right?
You should get that in a t-shirt. The numbers aren't numbering. I love it.
The math ain't mathin'. So, we are short in supply. Also in taking consideration that we are behind schedule in terms of building because of COVID that we had, right? So we have to obviously finish those homes and then obviously build on our average 20,000 a year, right?
Because we're behind, right? We're about 20,000 houses, so we're almost like a year behind.
Yes. And
we're still going to pump in, so at least let's do the numbers. Let's number those numbering, as you were saying. So 37,000 roughly people coming in. They're not every single one of them is going to need a house. On average, it's like 2.5 people. So let's just, for a nice easy number, let's say we need to build 15,000 houses. So that's 5 less than what we can actually achieve in a year. Now, 20,000 is the best we've done. On average, we're about 16, 17. So just roughly about those numbers, they're all kind of matching up, saying we'll probably be able to cover the houses that we need per year, but we've still got that surplus coming in. So it's going to take us 3 or 4 years to catch up, right?
Yeah.
To do the surplus of what we're doing. And we're starting to see builders starting to hit that 10-month mark of build from your slab down, which is back to, really getting back to those times that we saw pre-Seaward.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me as well, the investment is, there's 8 years of building in Perth. We've still got to do, there's still, again, and we're going to see the students come in and all. So there's going to be a demand. There's a demand for rentals right now. We're at what's the real 0.4%? We're in vacancy rate or something for rentals?
0.6% for just the general Perth region vacancy rate. Looking at Sydney is about 1.2. So, the media is always going on about Sydney's rental crisis, but we're actually got half the stock they do.
That rental, the reason we've got 0.6 is because we have to have people moving out and moving in.
Yeah.
You'll never have a 0% because it just doesn't happen.
I think a big trend at the moment is, and I think, obviously I don't talk to the council behind the scenes, but they're aware that people are coming and they're coming short term. So there are things, particularly like the FIFO, people coming from the East Coast that they need sort of a lock and leave room, that kind of thing. The students, the backpackers, what have you. Perth has that interesting culture because of the FIFO situation that people will come for a year just to trial it and things like that. So they don't want to commit to actually buying a home, but they really need the rental. So I think that's a huge push why our vacancy rate is so low is because people come almost for like a 1 or 2 year trial, more so than any other state. In saying that, I feel like the councils and things like that are really more open to building sort of like dual living homes.
Yeah.
That is a huge trend. I've been really doing quite a lot of those. I would say the last 8 months. Dual living is essentially you have like 2 homes in one. So you have 2 separate entrances. You even can like separate the garages, so they're 2 separate, 2 kitchens, two livings, things like that. But then you have people who sort of have like just a little kitchenette and like a retreat and a bedroom in their own home, so they can sort of sublease that to a FIFO or whatever, things like that. So people generally are now looking at doing that more for just opportunities and increasing their rental yield and that kind of thing. It's a huge openness I'm finding in terms of council accepting those sort of proposals more so than anything.
And most new estates are quite cool with it, as long as you apply with the building guidelines. Yeah. There's usually no problem. I've got the other way about. I've got a couple of FIFO workers that have built those 3x2s in like a one contained little granny flat in Sen House, and they live in the little house and rent out the big house because they get more of bang for the buck. They're only there for a week.
Yeah, totally.
They something to lock their stuff and go. So they're again another opportunity that
also particularly like our FIFO clients that are looked to build is they actually prefer to do that sort of subdivision home because once there's like a co-living arrangement, then they will get usually their FIFO mate that's on the opposite swing, and they generally don't see each other, but they're using separate homes and amenities and things like that. So
the reason we're going to start seeing the population growth, as we go back to that, is we're really short on skilled labourers. I mean, if you're living in Perth, if you look around, bars are struggling to get barmaids and barmen and whatever you want to call them. There's
barmaids. That gave me an image.
That's just straight barmaids. But look, so bar staff, right? So sorry for offending people. It wasn't intentional, but. Bar staff, Coles and Woolies are struggling at night stockers, things like that. So it shows you. And then the mining boom. I don't even know if it's a mining boom. We're just mining and we don't have enough staff to get there. And I think that's because of the COVID thing.
Correct.
We couldn't get people into it. Now everyone's flying back up there.
Yeah.
There's no, I think we spoke about it, or maybe haven't yet, but the submariners, in the Navy, they're bringing over 600 American submariners to man these new submarines because we don't have the submariners or the staff in the
down Rockingham way.
Yeah, down Rocky. There's obviously Garden Island. I know a little bit about that. The police have went on another European recruit into the UK to bring Police to bring over the UK cops. It's people come over then they transition over.
Yeah,
and they go in through that way.
I feel like since probably the last year, there's been an open floodgates with working visas. WA Police, the Navy, but also like just hairdressing, those sort of demands. It's huge. All the 457 working visas, they're all up there again. They're all really ready to push.
And it's for what I'm hearing, it's even easier to get in at the moment. Like, they'll talk about getting into WA Australia. It's easy. As long as you've got a skilled visa, they're pretty much going, because they need the workers.
Yeah.
And this is where we come into this process. Yeah, they're coming in, but where they're living, there's nowhere for them to live. I'm members on loads of Facebook pages like Scots in Perth and Brits in Perth, and it's constantly who's got a rental, and there's none.
And I think it's because people that are coming on a working visa, like we said, they're those 1 or 2 year people that are really just trialing WA and they're not sure if they want to live here long term and buy an established home, but they really just need that rental property just to sort of get their,
and that's it. So,
covered.
and then you've got what your mum was doing, the homes with all the different sort of rooms in it.
Yeah.
That's perfect for students. The students, and we're looking for a massive influx of students because of the universities got here. No, it wasn't until I read about it how many students we actually get into WA is huge. It's massive. I didn't realise the market for it was massive.
Yeah.
So there's another way now. To get your maximum return on those areas, you really need to do a little bit of digging and work and research in there. And, trying to find a house that you can either build, renovate, or knock down or whatever.
Yeah.
To put these in. Again, that's something if you want to know more about, reach out to us on the channels, guys, and we can go through it with you. And then also introduce you to the people that are actually the guns at this. From the marketing side of it and taking it out, we'll build it for you. That's what we do. But the rest of it, we'll give you the right people that can do that. Part of what we do. And look, that's really where we're at, right? So that's like all those industries, skilled labour, service industries, everything is there, and we don't have enough of it in WA. And what the problem is slowing it down a little bit more is because there's nowhere for them to stay at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm hearing people there's 2 families living on a 4x2 just to get it up. And what we want to try and do is give you that confidence that the building game, that the industry is starting to get quick again. It's starting to get back to those normals. So we're not those horror stories of going, I would invest in WA and build because there's no stock, but I don't want to wait 2 years. I mean, special investors, if you're cash buyers, we're it doesn't take long to do the planning and get it done, and then it's a couple of months and we're on site, and 9, 10 months, 11 months, and you built your house and you're starting to make it. But that's the only negative for it is there's no ROI until you build.
Yeah, I think you must get this a lot, but people always say to me, you work in building, you work in construction, how's it going? All, you hear all these stories in the media, and I say, people are always building. Mm-hmm. It's just who is building changes, right?
Yep.
So, before it was first home buyers, those young 22-year-old couples, that kind of young family trying to set themselves up with a low deposit. That's who it was. During COVID, I felt like it was people that already had a block. They wanted to build their dream house. They were highly cashed up, sort of those retirees, second, third home things that they wanted to build specifically for their need or desires, you know what I mean? Sort of we did so many 2-story like beach homes, that kind of thing. Now it's more just investor market. So it's like people see the opportunities, they see what's growing, see what's happening. But I think people is like, who's building? It's the investors now. I'm very rarely talking to those young couples. And it's really just people who are like, I see the numbers, and the numbers are numbering.
Yeah. I'm the same. with the first home buyers and stuff like that, I'm still talking to them, but when you break down how it's working and the costs and a lot of it's what they can borrow at the moment, and they just can't get the borrowing to be where they need to be. And once the interest rates start coming down over the next 12, 18 months, the first home buyer market will start picking up again and again. So we're all talking about 15,000 houses for the people that are moving in here. There's still people in WA we're on the rental crisis that want to build their own homes. They are still there. I get constantly talking to people. When you tell them where they're at, they're like, oh, I can only borrow 350. And you're like, geez, we're struggling to do anything with 350. You know what I mean? You may be able to buy somewhere
if they
down
have the
south.
block, we're right.
Exactly. So look, that's the kind of the point we're trying to make is like, there is, as you said, there's always people building. It's just who, and that's what we're here to try and do. And again, with investors, a lot of them, they sit on houses for 5-6 years and then they sell them once they've made equity or whatever on it or whatever they want to do. And so there's loads of different opportunities. Yeah. But for us, I suppose the different avenues to take down if you want to invest, right? Because we've got different types of how we would, and I want to talk purely from a building point of view, from what we would do here.
Yeah.
So you could just go find a block of land, stick a house on it, rent it out. Perfect. Find the right area, get your rental return, and that's probably the easiest rent
basic
you can do,
one,
right?
yeah.
Then you would be like, the next level would be more for investors. They try and find a house that they can subdivide the back, so they can make an investment from the house originally established and then subdivide the back. They're becoming less and less defined because we're starting to see the houses. Well, what we know is the old houses on these big blocks, the 800 blocks, are built right in the middle.
Yeah.
And if you try and split them, you need a 450 or 400 of each one, and it doesn't quite rock up. So those ones are quite hard to find. Now, the ones that are easy to find, the ones in Gauzies and all that stuff that we know about, they're stuck right in the middle of the block. We're starting to see now, what does it cost to subdivide that and develop that? And that's where the investors come in, because they've got the money and they can sit on the property, not worrying about valuation and all that kind of thing, and subdivide it. And they're the ones that we think are where you get your best bang for your buck. It's a lot up front, but once you split into 2 or 3, whatever you can, and rent it. Now, what we want you to do is, like, when you come to us, is I want to build 3 on there. That's fine, but we want to make sure you're still going to get a rental return in a few years. Sometimes when you're surrounded by 4x2s and stuff like that, and you build 3 3x2s, it doesn't really work. Or how many 3x2s or how many dual livings and all are in the area? We need to do that, and that's what we'll do. We'll help you do and go, oh, look, this market's flooded by 4x2s. You try and put a 3x2, you're going to get minimum return, and your numbers don't work out. Sometimes it's like, do a bit bigger, but we'll work all that out. We'll do the feasibility with you, and we'll get, like, we've got, we know loads of real estate agents in the areas that we'll talk to them and see what they think they can get and what we look like. If they're just getting it now, I would be like, don't build that now, because you're not going to get that 3 years when the market starts to get a little bit more fluid.
Yeah, I think what you're really talking about is more like land bankers, right? So they're just collecting land, big blocks with a not so great house on it, and we're just looking to demolish it, clean the block up, put 4 or 5 homes on it. I think it depends on the suburb, but obviously what that client is wanting, because a lot of the time they're putting, say, 1.5 to 2 million into that block. They obviously want to sell usually half just to get some of their cash back, just to like reduce their risk, if anything. So we tend to flip those and then sort of rent the rest out, depending on the suburb, to be honest. Yeah, but I think the shift is more those big land bankers that are looking for those bigger blocks, and that's really which we'll talk about in our next podcast, but we were looking at sort of like those really hot spots for suburbs to invest in. And there are so many suburbs now that are like lower socioeconomic, those big blocks that we're talking about. But those houses are on the market for 5-7 days, and they're just like this, and I'm on the phone, we're trying to get that block before it's even hit the market. And it's purely because a client wants it to obviously demolish and build, right?
And I get, same with you, I get clients coming and saying, Tony, look, what have you got for us? I'm like, do you know what? I don't actually hold any stock because they're flying so quickly. If I do a package, house and lands, whatever it would be, and this is what it would take into accountability, feasibility, and send out, the time I process that, but 2 days later, it's usually gone. And then the clients come in. I don't really like throwing out, what you call them, the red herrings to grab people in. I'd rather go, hey, this is what I can do. I'll show you what I've done. Give me a couple of days to go and find what you want, do the feasibility, work on the land, reach out to my contacts and go, hey, I've got one here that works. Your ROI's here. This kind of build would be here, and we always build it to the investor spec, as it's called. We know where that's at, and then we just do the deal that way. And they're like, yep, cool, bang, and we're going. That's not saying that I won't do packages. I just don't think it's just not. They're just moving so quick that it's not even worth doing the packages at the moment.
No, I think it's really just reading the client profile and what they're looking for. sometimes people say this is my budget, 800 grand, get me the best return in terms of either one, flipping and subdividing, or getting sort of higher rental yield of some sort of co-living or dual living unit development sort of thing.
I'm with you. I'm definitely getting the ones that they want to establish house and then subdivide the back, which is great, but they're becoming like rocking horses.
My only advice is, please, before you buy the block, talk to me or Tony, because so many times people buy it and I'm like, oh mate, to actually build on the back, we actually have to demolish the front, and that is always so heartbreaking because their numbers don't work then,
Or they've done it and they're like, yeah, but I've got 450 at the back, yeah, but you're going to have to knock down your garage because there's no entry to the background and stuff like that.
Yeah, the driveway's not wide enough or whatever. Yeah.
We need to, so that's things that will help
things like
you
a Bayswater or a Carlisle, the narrower driveways, and you always get caught out with those areas.
If you're over east, like, give us a shout. I'll go and check the block. Catherine usually gets me going to do it for her as well.
Yeah.
Too busy getting Pilates or something,
Pilates.
No, not at all. No, but like it's no, we'll go and check the blocks, have a walk around and look at it, because sometimes the pictures don't do it justice. You can't get a feel for it, and then you walk out there and you go, geez, this is on like a 13-degree slope. This is going to cost a lot to dig this out or rev it up. Yeah. So anyway, they're the kind of options, I suppose, to go back through. There's different options of how we would build to maximise your ROI. It's a little bit of work there, but we're happy to do it, and especially we know the market pretty well. Yeah. I suppose a big thing in this podcast is to go back, is to let you know that, look, there's another 8 or 9 years of solid building in Perth just with the numbers of people coming in here. So if you want to invest in rent, you could be starting now, have the house built within 12 months and rent it out, and you're going to capitalise on the next 7 years of the rental market of what's in Perth. Because like you said, not everyone comes over here and wants to stay. They want to come over 2 or 3 years. Yeah. Just because they want to kill the pig at the mining industry and then disappear back, when everything settles. It moves and fluids. So this is the time to get stuck in and start working on a portfolio and get it done. Yeah. And for first home buyers, you might not be in the position to buy now and you're renting. Start saving, because these rates will come down eventually. They have to. And then you'll be in a more affordable position. You can borrow what you actually need.
Got your deposit.
Get stuck to work, because there's all those different things, You want to know about the deposits? Go to the last one with Joya Damasi and let her tell about the first home loan deposit schemes. But that's really what I wanted to cover just in this podcast, nice and quick. That people are worried about the build times. There are some builders that will take you 2 years, not with us, right? We've got plenty of builders on our books, so we can spread the risk for you as well. So if you want to do multiple different builds, we're not all putting our eggs in one basket. And the fact that there's plenty of growth coming. There's plenty of money to be made. Whether it's rent to first home buyers or rent to the people that are moving over, there's plenty there.
And let's just, to wrap up this podcast, we'll just go through the opportunities are either your basic single story 4x2 homes, turnkey. Next level will be your co-living, dual living opportunities. And then third is more your land bankers who are looking at to develop and subdivide into multiple unit developments. So there are your opportunities depending where you sit in the market and what you're really looking for, whether to build and flip or to build and rent. The opportunities are both there for both. Yeah.
Look, so if it's something you want to know a little bit more about, get in contact with us. We'll happily sit down and do a Zoom and a chat through with you and let you know where we're at and what we're at. If we especially love the big development 6, 7, 8 development sites, but we're really good at them. We enjoy them. On that one, you get both of us running that and pointing that. Just 2 heads are better than one with that stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
We'll go from there. So look, as always, like, share, comment, follow. Get in touch with myself or Catherine through the links below. Comment podcasts or jump onto our pages, and we'll happily help you.
All right. See you later.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
Bye.